Okay, real talk. How many of you bought a PS5 just to play PS4 games in better resolution? Don't lie, I see you. But here's the thing, there are actually insane exclusives out there that make this console worth the hassle of fighting bots and scalpers. I've played everything from the obvious blockbusters to the weird stuff nobody talks about. And I've narrowed it down to 20 games that need to be on your radar. Some will consume your life, others will consume your sanity, but all of them are essential. Okay, let's talk about the game that made me sleep with the lights on for a week. Alan Wake 2 isn't just a survival horror game. It's Remedy at their absolute weirdest and most ambitious. You're splitting time between Alan trapped in the dark place and FBI agent Saga Anderson investigating ritualistic murders. And honestly, the way these stories weave together will melt your brain in the best possible way. The graphics are insane, like stop and stare at reflections in puddles insane. But what really got me was the atmosphere. There's this sequence in a TV studio that I won't spoil, but trust me, it's one of the most creative things I've seen in gaming, period. The combat feels weighty and desperate. You're not some superhero. You're scrambling for batteries and bullets while reality literally rewrites itself around you. And the story? It's Twin Peaks meets Stephen King with a dash of Scandinavian folk horror. Yeah, it's slower paced than your typical action game, and some puzzles had me scratching my head, but when a game makes you think about it weeks after finishing, that's special. If you've been craving something that actually feels different, something that respects your intelligence while scaring the hell out of you, Alan Wake 2 is essential. Just maybe don't play it alone at 2 a.m. like I did. I'm gonna be real with you. I lost 200 hours of my life to Baldur's Gate 3 and I'd do it again tomorrow. This isn't just the best RPG on PS5, it might be one of the best RPGs ever made. Every single choice matters. Like, you can literally talk your way out of the final boss fight if you play your cards right. How wild is that? The freedom is overwhelming in the best way. Want to sneak through an entire dungeon as a cat? Go for it. Want to stack 47 explosive barrels and nuke an enemy camp? The game's like, sure, why not? The characters are stupidly well written too. Shadowheart, Asterion, Karlach, they're not just party members. They feel like actual friends by the end. Or lovers, if that's your thing. No judgment. The turn-based combat might scare off some people, but honestly, it's like chess with fireballs and mind flayers. Every encounter feels like a puzzle you can solve a dozen different ways. And the multiplayer? Getting 3 friends together for a campaign is pure chaos. Someone always ends up starting a bar fight while you're trying to negotiate peace treaties. Look, I know $70 is steep, but when you break it down to cost per hour of entertainment, this game's basically paying you. If you remotely like fantasy, storytelling, or just good games, you need this. Elden Ring broke me. Rebuilt me, then broke me again, and I loved every punishing second. From Software took everything that makes Dark Souls special and dropped it in this massive open world that actually makes sense to explore. You know that feeling when you see a distant castle and think, can I go there? In Elden Ring, the answer's always yes. And there's probably some nightmare creature waiting to destroy you when you arrive. The boss fights are pure art. Millennia made me question my life choices. Radon turned me into a rage monster, but beating them? Better than any trophy or achievement. The beauty of Elden Ring is you can always leave and come back stronger. Getting wrecked by Margit? Cool. Go explore, find better gear, level up, then come back and show him who's boss. The multiplayer's genius too. Summoning random players for help, invading others, leaving messages that are either genuinely helpful or absolute trolling. Try jumping next to a cliff will never not be funny. Yeah, it's hard. Yeah, you'll die. A lot. But here's the thing. Every death teaches you something. And when you finally beat that boss you've been stuck on for 3 hours, nothing in gaming hits quite like that. If you've been intimidated by Souls games before, this is the one to try. Just prepare to become completely obsessed. God of War Ragnarök made me cry, and I'm not even ashamed to admit it. This isn't just Kratos smashing things anymore. Though don't worry, there's plenty of that. It's a story about fathers and sons, about breaking cycles, about growing up. Atreus isn't just a sidekick anymore. He's dealing with teenage god problems, while Kratos is trying to be a better dad than his father ever was. The emotional beats hit harder than Mjolnir. The combat's been refined to perfection. Switching between the Leviathan axe and Blades of Chaos mid-combo never gets old. And the new spear? Chef's kiss. Every realm feels distinct, from the lush jungles of Vanaheim to the primordial spark of the world. The side quests aren't just filler either. There's this one with a whale that, man, just play it. What blows my mind is how they managed to make Norse mythology feel fresh. We all know Ragnarok's coming, but the way they handle it, didn't see it coming. The set pieces are absolutely bonkers too. There's a battle sequence that makes Marvel movies look like indie films. My only complaint? I wanted it to never end. But when the credits rolled after 40-ish hours, I felt satisfied in a way few games achieve. This is Sony at their blockbuster best, a technical showcase with genuine heart. Listen, when the Persona team makes a new IP, you pay attention. Metaphor. ReFantazio is what happens when Atlas decides to go completely off the rails with fantasy instead of modern settings, and holy crap, it works. Imagine Persona's social systems and turn-based combat, but you're in this bizarre world where people transform into massive mechanical knights to fight. The political intrigue is actually engaging. You're literally running for king while the world's falling apart. The archetype system is basically jobs on steroids. You can mix and match classes in ways that break the game wide open. Want a healer who can also nuke enemies? Done. The art direction is unhinged in the best way. Hieronymus Bosch meets anime, if that makes sense. Characters have actual depth too. Your fairy companion Gallica isn't just exposition dumps. She's got her own arc that genuinely surprised me. The calendar system returns but feels less restrictive than Persona. You're managing your time, but it doesn't feel like homework. And the music? Shoji Meguro went absolutely nuts. There's a boss theme that's been living rent-free in my head for weeks. Sure, it's a slow burn, the first few hours are very talky, but once it clicks, you're looking at another 100-hour Atlas addiction. If you loved Persona but wanted something fresh, this is exactly what you've been waiting for. Final Fantasy VII. Rebirth is the Empire Strikes Back of this remake trilogy, and I mean that in every possible way. Square Enix took everything that worked in Remake and cranked it to 11. The open zones? Massive. The mini-games? There's like 40 of them, and Queen's Blood might be the best card game since Gwent. No joke. But here's what really gets me. They're not just retelling the story we know. They're playing with our expectations in ways that had me shouting at my TV. That Aerith scene? Yeah, that one. I won't spoil it, but tissues might be required. The combat system hits different now. Synergy attacks between characters make every fight feel like a choreographed dance. Cloud and Tifa's combos are chef's kiss. And Red Tobentine plays exactly how you'd hope a fire-breathing lion dog would. The relationship building is next level too. You're not just watching these characters, you're living their journey. Beach dates with Aerith, bro moments with Barrett, whatever weird thing Yuffie's got going on, it all matters. The game's absolutely gorgeous too. Costa del Sol looks like an actual vacation spot, and the grasslands at sunset. Screenshot City. My only gripe? It's almost too much content. I hit 80 hours and still had side quests left. But when your biggest complaint is, there's too much game, that's a good problem. If you played Remake, this is mandatory. If you didn't, what are you even doing? Marvel's Spider-Man 2 is exactly what happens when Insomniac stops holding back and goes full comic book insane. Playing as both Peter and Miles isn't just a gimmick. Their different fighting styles completely change how you approach combat. Peter with the symbiote suit? Absolutely brutal. Those tentacle attacks make you feel like a monster, which is kind of the point. Miles with his evolved venom powers? Pure electricity. The story goes places I didn't expect. Kraven isn't just another villain, he's terrifying. And Harry? Man, they did Harry dirty in the best narrative way possible. The web swinging got even better, which I didn't think was possible. Those web wings? Game changer. Gliding across the East River into Queens for the first time gave me legitimate goosebumps. Speaking of Queens and Brooklyn, finally having the full NYC map makes Manhattan feel small by comparison. Coney Island, Astoria, Brooklyn Bridge. It's all here and it's all gorgeous. The side content actually feels meaningful too. The flame mission, Mysterio's shenanigans, even the science puzzles, nothing feels like checkbox busy work. And that's before we talk about the set pieces. The lizard hunt in the sewers, the Sandman boss fight that turns into Godzilla-scale destruction. Insomniac just showing off at this point. Some people complained it's too short for an open-world game, but I'd rather have 25 hours of pure quality than 100 hours of padding. This is superhero gaming perfected. Resident Evil 4. Remake shouldn't work as well as it does. How do you remake one of the most influential games ever made? Apparently, you rebuild it from scratch while somehow keeping everything that made it special. Leon's still dropping one-liners, but now he's not alone. Ashley's actually useful. She's not just a burden to protect. She helps in puzzles, throws healing item, and her section? Actually fun instead of frustrating. Who saw that coming? The combat feels modern, but familiar. Parrying chainsaw attacks with your knife never stops being satisfying. The weapon upgrading is still addictive. I spent way too much time at the merchant optimizing my loadout. And yes, he still says, "What are you buying?" And it's still perfect. They added stuff that feels like it was always meant to be there. The expanded castle section, Luis getting actual character development, that new ending sequence. It all fits naturally. The atmosphere's been cranked up too. The village in the rain is genuinely unsettling. That first encounter with the chainsaw guy still makes my palms sweat even knowing it's coming. Krauser's knife fight got the glow up it deserved. It's not just QTES anymore. It's a proper duel. The regenerators are somehow even more terrifying with modern graphics. That breathing sound will haunt your dreams. This is how you do a remake. Respectful to the original, but confident enough to make changes. Whether you played the original 20 times or never touched it, this is essential. Demon's Souls on PS5 is what happens when you give Bluepoint a blank check and tell them to show off. This isn't just a remaster. It's a complete visual rebuild that makes a 2009 game look better than most 2024 releases. The Tower of Latria in 4K, pure nightmare fuel. The haptic feedback and 3D audio completely change the experience. You feel every sword clash in your hands, hear enemies breathing behind you. It's the most immersive Souls game, and that's saying something. But here's the thing, it's still Demon's Souls, which means it's brutal, unforgiving, and absolutely does not care about your feeling. No bonfires here, just archstone. Die in human form, your world tendency shifts, and the game gets harder. Yeah, harder. The bosses might seem simple compared to later Souls games, but that's missing the point. Demon's Souls is about the journey, the atmosphere, the dread. Valley of Defilement remains the most oppressive area FromSoft's ever created. The multiplayer's been modernized perfectly. Invading someone's world in 4K 60 while they're struggling through Boletaria is evil, and I love it. The old monk fight where another player becomes the boss, still genius. Character tendency, world tendency, systems that seem obtuse but create this incredible metagame. Want that special weapon? Better plan your entire playthrough around it. This remake proves graphics aren't just window dressing. When every detail enhances the atmosphere, it transforms the experience. Demon's Souls walked so Elden Ring could run. Returnal is what happens when you mix Super Metroid with Groundhog Day and inject it with pure cosmic horror adrenaline. Every death isn't just a setback, it's part of the story. Celine's slowly going insane, and honestly, so was I by the third biome. The gameplay loop is perfectly calibrated addiction. You'll die, lose everything, swear you're done, then immediately start another run because this time will be different. Spoiler, it usually isn't, but when you finally break through, pure euphoria. The combat is bullet hell ballet. You're dodging neon death while pumping aliens full of whatever sci-fi nonsense your weapon shoots. The weapons are wild too. The Electropylon driver literally sets up Tesla coil death traps. The rot gland lobber? Acid grenades that melt everything. Finding a good weapon with perfect traits feels like Christmas morning. The house sequences messed with my head in ways I didn't expect from a roguelike. Without spoiling anything, Housemarque hid a deeply personal story inside this alien massacre simulator. The way it unfolds across dozens of deaths is brilliant, and the sound design? Wearing headphones is mandatory. The 3D audio makes you paranoid. Every skitter, every alien screech feels like it's right behind you. The DualSense implementation is godly. Different alt fires on L2 tension, feeling rain through the controller. It's next-gen stuff. Yeah, it's tough. Yeah, some runs feel unfair, but when you're in the zone, when you've got the right build and you're dancing through bullets, nothing else feels quite like Returnal. Persona 5. Royal is the game that consumed my entire summer, and I regret nothing. This isn't just a JRPG, it's a life simulator where you're juggling homework, part-time jobs, and friendships while also diving into people's psyches to steal their distorted desires. Yeah, it's as wild as it sounds. The style is absolutely dripping off this game. Every menu transition, every all-out attack, every scene change, it's all so stupidly stylish that taking screenshots becomes a minigame itself. The acid jazz soundtrack, I still listen to it while working. Beneath the Mask on a rainy day hits different. The story tackles heavy stuff, corruption, abuse, societal pressure, but never feels preachy. Your phantom thieves changing hearts, and every palace is a reflection of someone's twisted worldview. The Casino Palace, the Pyramid, each one's a visual feast with its own theme and mechanics. Royal adds like 30 hours of new content, and Kasumi's storyline is worth the price alone. The new semester completely reframes the entire story. Without spoiling, the Final Palace is one of the most emotionally complex things Atlus has ever done. The confidant system makes every relationship meaningful. Hanging with Ryuji, dating Makoto, learning shogi with Hifumi, it all makes you stronger in combat. Time management becomes this addictive puzzle where you're min-maxing your days. Fair warning, this game will eat your life. We're talking 130 plus hours easy. But when a game makes you sad it's ending after that long, that's magic. Rift Apart is Pixar with guns, and I mean that as the highest compliment. This game is basically Insomniac showing off everything the PS5 can do while remembering to make it ridiculously fun. The dimensional rifts aren't just a gimmick. You're literally jumping between entirely different worlds instantly with zero loading. It's witchcraft. Rivet steals the show completely. She's not just female Ratchet. She's got her own personality, Her own trauma with losing her arm, her own dynamic with Kit. The way these characters develop actually made me care about cartoon animals with oversized weapons. The arsenal is unhinged as always. The topiary sprinkler turns enemies into bushes. The ricochet gun has bullets that drunk drive into targets. The Rhino 8 literally drops random objects from other dimensions. I saw it drop Sly Cooper's cane once and lost my mind. Every planet feels alive and dense with secrets. Nefarious city in the rain with all those neon reflections. My PS5 sounded like a jet engine, but God, it was pretty. The robot pirates singing sea shanties, comedy gold. The accessibility options are incredible too. You can slow down time, make yourself invincible, skip puzzle. Insomniac wants everyone to enjoy this, and I respect that. It's not the longest game, maybe 12 hours for the story, but every second is polished to perfection. Sometimes you don't need a 100-hour epic. Sometimes you just need a gorgeous, funny, heartfelt adventure that makes you feel like a kid again. This is that game. Death Stranding 2 is Kojima unleashed with a bigger budget and somehow even weirder ideas. If you thought the first game was strange, buddy, you haven't seen anything yet. The traversal mechanics are even deeper now. You're not just walking, you're surfing on tar waves, using new tools that defy physics, and yes, the photo mode has a guitar for some reason. Classic Kojima. The cast is stacked again. Norman Reedus returned, but the new character, Troy Baker's villain, is genuinely unsettling. And Elle Fanning brings something special to the madness. The motion capture is next level. You can see every micro expression, every tear, every moment of confusion when characters try to understand Kojima's dialogue. The world feels more alive, but also more hostile. The BTs have evolved, the timefall creates new environmental puzzles, and there's this new threat that I won't spoil but involves puppets because of course it does. This is Kojima we're talking about. The multiplayer integration goes harder too. The structures players build feel more impactful. The shared world events create these organic moments of cooperation. Someone's zipline saving your delivery run still hits different. The story? I'm not even going to pretend I fully understand it yet. There's something about extinction, connection, beaches as metaphors for death. It's David Lynch meets Metal Gear meets Amazon Prime Delivery Simulator, but somehow it works. When Kojima commits to his insanity this hard, you just buckle up and enjoy the ride. Ghost of Yotei just got released, and I'm already planning my 2025 around it. Sucker Punch looked at Ghost of Tsushima's success and said, let's go even harder. New protagonist, Atsu. New region around Mount Yotei. New time period in 1603. They're not playing it safe with a Jin sequel, and that takes guts. The combat looks evolved from what we've seen. Atsu fights differently, more aggressive, using firearms alongside traditional weapons. That shamisen she carries isn't just for show either. Music seems tied to gameplay somehow. Knowing Sucker Punch, it'll be something poetic and beautiful. The setting change to early Edo period means we're getting a different vibe. No Mongol invasion this time. This is about the chaos after Japan's unification. More political intrigue, more moral ambiguity. Atsu seems like she's got her own demons compared to Jin's honor struggle. Mount Yotei as the backdrop is genius. Every screenshot has this perfect snow-capped mountain looming in the distance. If they nail the atmosphere like they did with Tsushima's fields and forests, we're in for something special. The fact they're confident enough to move away from Jin's story shows they understand what made the first game special wasn't just the character, but the feeling of being a legendary warrior in feudal Japan. Also, can we talk about that reveal trailer? The way the music builds, the cinematography. Sucker Punch knows how to build hype. 2025 can't come fast enough. Horizon Forbidden West is what happens when Guerrilla Games decides to fix everything that was even slightly off about the first game while making robot dinosaurs even cooler. The underwater sections? Game-changing. Swimming through sunken ruins while robot crocodiles hunt you adds this whole new layer of terror I didn't know I needed. Aloy's more human this time. She's not just the chosen one saving everyone, she's struggling, making mistakes, learning to trust people. Her relationship with Beta hit me way harder than expected. The vulnerability Ashley Birch brings to these scenes is incredible. The machines are absolutely insane now. The Slitherfang fight where you're battling a giant robot cobra in a desert storm, the Tida Ripper emerging from the ocean. Every encounter feels like Monster Hunter met Shadow of the Colossus and had a beautiful mechanical baby. San Francisco and Vegas as overgrown ruins are breathtaking. The contrast between familiar landmarks and post-apocalyptic nature never gets old. Standing on the Golden Gate Bridge, looking at the city reclaimed by nature, it's hauntingly beautiful. The skill tree actually matters now. You can specialize in stealth, trapping, melee. Each path fundamentally changes combat. My trap-focused build turned every fight into Home Alone with explosives. Some people bounced off the story, but I was hooked. The Far Zenith twist, the truth about Nemesis, Silence being silence, it all worked for me. Plus, machine riding isn't just a gimmick anymore. Flying across the map on a Sunwing never gets old. This is Sony's technical powerhouse that also remembers to have heart. The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered is the game that divided the internet. And you know what? I get both sides. But playing this on PS5 with all the visual upgrades and that brutal new roguelike mode, it hits different. This isn't just misery porn like some people claim. It's a meditation on cycles of violence that happens to feature you caving in zombie skulls with a hammer. The combat is disgustingly visceral. Every gunshot feels desperate. Every stealth kill makes you wince. The way enemies scream names when you kill their friends, that still messes with me. Naughty Dog wanted you to feel every death, and mission accomplished, you psychos. Playing as both Ellie and Abby remains controversial, but that's the point. The game forces you into uncomfortable positions, makes you question who deserves sympathy. By the end, I didn't know who to root for, and that's brilliant storytelling even if it's painful. The remaster's lost levels are fascinating. Cut content that shows different angles, alternative paths. It's like DVD extras but playable. No return mode turns the combat into a roguelike where you're just surviving waves. And honestly, it might be the best way to experience the gameplay without the emotional baggage. Seattle's never looked better or more depressing. The overgrown downtown, the flooded streets, that forest section, it's apocalyptic tourism at its finest. Whether you love it or hate it, this game swings for the fences. Not every swing connects, but I respect the hell out of Naughty Dog for trying. Gran Turismo 7 is the dad game that somehow made me care about brake bias and tire pressure. Polyphony Digital created a love letter to car culture that's so obsessively detailed, it makes actual cars jealous. The cafe mode is genius. Instead of boring tutorials, you're collecting cars like Pokemon while learning automotive history. Did you know the Mazda RX-7's rotary engine was inspired by a German engineer? Neither did I, but now I tell people at parties. The driving feels perfect. Every car has weight, personality, quirks. A 1960s Beetle doesn't handle like a modern Ferrari, and that attention to detail is insane. The DualSense feedback lets you feel the road surface changing, the ABS kicking in, the moment your tires lose grip. It's borderline therapeutic. Scapes mode turned me into a virtual photographer. I've spent embarrassing hours positioning cars in photorealistic locations for the perfect shot. My phone's full of fake car photos that look better than real ones. The economy got fixed after launch, thank God. Early days were rough with the microtransaction push, but now you earn cars at a reasonable pace, and the daily roulette actually gives decent reward. The weather system changes everything. That mission where you're racing at the Nürburgring in dynamic weather, one lap it's dry, next lap you're hydroplaning into barriers. It's terrifying and amazing. Even if you don't care about cars, the presentation might convert you. This is gaming's most beautiful encyclopedia that happens to let you drive everything in it. Street Fighter 6 is Capcom grabbing the fighting game crown and styling on everyone. After Street Fighter 5's rough launch, they came back swinging with a game that's welcoming to button mashers, but deep enough for pros to find new tech years later. World Tour mode is absolutely unhinged. You create your custom fighter and roam Metro City, getting into street fights, learning moves from the main roster. My character looks like if Shrek joined the UFC, and he's beautiful, taking selfies with Ryu while he teaches you Hadokens. Peak gaming. The drive system changes everything. Drive impact, drive parry, drive rush. It's like rock, paper, scissors with fireballs. Even scrubs like me can feel like Daigo with a well-timed drive parry. That feeling when you perfectly read your opponent? Better than any combo. Modern controls are controversial, but brilliant. You lose some moves, but gain accessibility. My friend who hasn't touched fighting games since Street Fighter 2 can now actually compete. The gatekeeping bros hate it, which means it's working. The netcode is flawless. Fighting someone in Japan from Detroit feels like they're sitting next to you. No more blaming lag for losses. Now I have to admit, I just suck. Battle Hub is like a fighting game arcade in your console. Walking around, challenging randoms, watching high-level matches on the big screen, it captures that arcade feeling we've lost. The roster's personality shines through everything. Jamie's drunken style, Marissa's absolute unit energy, JP's evil businessman vibes. Everyone's someone's main. Clair Obscur Expedition 33 came out of nowhere and chose violence against my emotions. This French indie team decided to make turn-based JRPGs beautiful and depressing in equal measure. Imagine if Final Fantasy had a baby with French existentialism and raised it on watercolor painting. The premise is insane. Every year, a paintress destroys everyone of a certain age, and your expedition has to stop her before your number's up. You're literally racing against time and mortality. Not your typical save the world story. The combat system takes turn-based and adds real-time elements that keep you engaged. Perfect parries, timed attacks, environmental interaction. It's like if Mario RPG grew up and got really into philosophy. Every party member's fighting style reflects their personality and path. The visual style is unreal. It's like playing through a living painting where beauty and decay exist simultaneously. Some areas look like Monet decided to paint the apocalypse. The colors are gorgeous but wrong, if that makes sense. The character writing surprised me. These aren't typical JRPG archetypes. They're broken people trying to find meaning before their time runs out. The dialogue gets heavy, dealing with loss, purpose, sacrifice, but it never feels pretentious, just honest. French developers bring something different to gaming. There's a melancholy here that American and Japanese games rarely capture. It's not trying to be the next Final Fantasy, it's doing its own thing. For a studio's debut game, this is absurdly ambitious. If they pulled this off first try, imagine what they'll do next. Silent Hill 2 Remake is what happens when Bloober Team decides to remake the scariest game ever made and somehow doesn't completely mess it up. Actually, scratch that. They nailed it. This isn't just nostalgia bait. It's a psychological horror masterpiece rebuilt for people who think they can handle it. Spoiler, you can't. James is even more pathetic now, and I mean that as a compliment. Every facial expression screams man going through it, and his journey through guilt and grief hits harder with modern presentation. The voice acting's more naturalistic, but keeps that uncanny valley feeling that makes everyone seem slightly off. The combat's been expanded, but still feels desperate. You're not Leon Kennedy. You're a sad man with a plank fighting manifestations of sexual frustration. Every enemy encounter feels like a mistake you're barely surviving. Pyramid Head remains gaming's most terrifying presence, and seeing him in 4K doesn't make it better. The nurses, the mannequins, those things in the prison. Bloober made everything worse in the best way. The sound design will ruin you. Playing with headphones is mandatory, and also a terrible idea. Every footstep, every radio static burst, every distant scream, it's audio terrorism. Silent Hill itself is the best it's ever looked, which means it's absolutely horrible. The fog isn't just hiding technical limitations anymore, it's suffocating you. Every location drips with decay and meaning. The hotel. My God, the hotel. That final stretch is emotional devastation disguised as horror gaming. The new endings and expanded content all feel natural, like deleted scenes that should have always. So that's the list. 20 games that justify your PS5's existence. But real talk, everyone's got that one game that changed everything for them. What's yours? Drop it in the comments because I genuinely read all of them, and half my backlog comes from you guys recommending stuff. If even one of these games ends up consuming your life like they did mine, smash that like button, subscribe for more PlayStation content, and hit the bell so you know when I drop the next list. Until then, stop watching YouTube and go play something. Seriously, why are you still here? Go boot up your PS5.